everyone, it's Renee with Delaney Jane Cards. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing another design team video for the Not Too Shabby Shop, and I have the caffeinated bugs from the Rabbit Hole Designs to play with, and then I thought it would be fun to play with these easy lights from Pear Blossom Press. A couple of months ago I did a video with my very first light up card, so we'll see how much easier, if easier, this is. I'm also going to be playing with these Electro-Pop neon enamels. They are Rina K enamels, and we're gonna experiment. So we're gonna use this Decofoil transfer gel. This is just the clear transfer gel. This is not the white one, and this was 100% an experiment. And I laid this down on this piece of acetate and I kind of spread it around like icing, and I made it as thin as I possibly could. I tried to get it pretty smooth. It's not perfectly smooth. I think if I would have had like one of those really big scrapers, I could have made it really smooth. In the end, it works out to my benefit here. But I'm going to spread this on this clear piece of acetate, and when it dries, we will come back to it. So I just sealed that up. I didn't show, but I have been keeping a piece of press and seal inside my container there so that it stays, so it doesn't dry out. So I'm going to use this bug. And he, you know, every time I use one of these stamp sets from the Rabbit Hole Designs, these caffeinated animals, I'm always like, this is my spirit animal. Well, this bug, he is something else. I am going to paper piece his robe, but first I needed to stamp him out. So I did pick out two sentiments. One says "Buggy for Caffeine" and the other says "You Light Me Up." And I used that Hefty Doodle set to do the "You Light Me Up" part. I thought it was brilliant for this card design that I have. You'll have to tell me if this is a good card design, but it made me giggle the whole time I was getting ready to, you know, put this together. And like I said, this was 100% an experiment. I was trying my best to do something different and unique, and sometimes when I'm in my craft room I get stuck in a rut, and I really wanted to try something new. So I pulled out those easy lights, and I had used these Rina K enamels in a previous video. This time they don't look so fluorescent, but we'll get to that. So then I pulled out this Miss Ink stencil here, and you see me use my Scotch removable tape. It's like my favorite thing in my craft room, I guess. Probably. I think I use it all the time, and I think in every single video I'm like, it's the best thing ever. This video is no different. I think it's the best thing ever. So this stamp set here and the stencil are both available in Jamie's shop. I will have them linked below. But this stencil is kind of, well, lately I've been into stencils. I wasn't for a long time, not at all into stencils, because I just couldn't see the potential of a stencil. Now I love them. So I'm just using one of these cheap makeup brushes that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I am adding a glow around our friend the beetle. He needs a name. I think you should tell me what we should name him, because I don't even know what to call him. I don't want to call him Beetlejuice, because that's just, it's unoriginal. But we need to give him a name. So after I used the yellow and the kind of like golden honey colors there, I decided to blend in this lighter blue here from the bottom and the top. And I know that if they go over the yellow, it will make green. But I did this kind of carefully, and I just really wanted to kind of create those edges where I had put the tape down to mask the background. I really wanted there to be a harsh edge on the edge, you know, so that it looks like a strip. So now we're going to cut the bug out of here. I know. I have not used an X-Acto knife blade in a while to do something like this, and I don't know why all of a sudden this was my fantastic idea. I will tell you that I'm sure there will be more light up cards. There will be more cards kind of with a similar design, I'm sure, somewhere, because This turned out really cool. So here I'm just cutting out his body, not his robe, his actual like bug self. I'm cutting bug self. I'm cutting him out, and it looks all funky, but he is missing. And then I was kind of careful around his legs, and then you'll see. I didn't need to be careful. I end up fixing that later. But I trimmed him all out and put that razor blade away because, you know, I will cut myself. And then I took this sticky note and put it down, and then turned my pattern or my paper over here and just went around the edges with this black marker. It just adds a little black edging, and then where I had, you know, missed, I went around. And I always do it from the back in case my marker slips, because at this point we're pretty far into this. It doesn't look like we are, but we are. So for his robe, I decided I was going to paper piece him, and I have this fantastic like rainbow plaid. It's not really a plaid. It's kind of a just a line design, I guess. Piece of pattern paper here. It's fantastic. I thought, how fun would that be? So I'm going to do the same thing where I go around the edges with the marker. Usually I shade pieces before I cut them out. I don't know what was going on. I think I had like the 8,000 steps that I was going to need to do this card in my head. And I didn't think ahead far enough. So then I trimmed out his little slippers because I can't have his robe be this fantastic rainbow like lined print and him not have matching slippers. I mean, who does that? I don't even own slippers. So, but beside the point, I needed him to match because he needed to match. So then I used more of that tape that I used, and I stuck the slippers and his robe to that tape so that they didn't wander off. And then I wanted the cup to be this different pattern, so I, of course, stamped that. And then I needed his belly and stuff again, so I stamped him out again. So you see here, we have stamped him multiple times. We're going to get one card, but I stamped him a whole bunch of times. So I'm going to color the bits and pieces that I need to color. His legs, which I don't really need. You'll see. Or maybe I do use them. I think I do use his legs. His hair, that definitely needed to be colored because if you've seen when I used my X-Acto knife, I cut around his hair and his eyeballs. First his eyelids. And I used these really bright greens. I wanted him to be like the most fantastic bug with the most fantastic look on his face. So I used some really fluorescent bright greens here to kind of give that I'm a bug look. I don't know. I just thought he should be green. And then I shaded. This is what I normally do when I pattern or paper pieces. I usually shade my piece before I cut it out. And I think that this is probably where I realized, yep, that I had not shaded my robe and I had cut it out. So then I did shade it. But I have it stuck to this piece of removable tape, so everything is kind of easy to hang on to. And then I don't lose it on my desk either. I can just stick it up in the corner of my glass mat and everything is stuck together and those little slippers don't wander off. So I just put some gray markers on there and then blended it out with my colorless blender. And I did color the handle for the mug instead of paper piecing that. It just seemed way too much work. And then I had to put the bloodshot eyes on this guy. I do that all the time. I just don't feel like they're finished unless they have bloodshot eyes. And this guy was no exception. So here I'm showing you that transfer gel is dry on this piece of acetate. See how you can see through it? It's clear. So now we're going to cross our fingers and hope we can put this through a laminator because this is not heat resistant acetate. This is probably before we knew that there were things you could do to acetate, like heat them up. It's so old, that acetate. I will let you know that as of today, I do now own some heat resistant acetate, so we'll see what kind of fun things I can come up with that. So these enamels, they work kind of like foil. You can run them through a laminator with a transfer gel. There's the duo gel, which you can run through both your die cut pressure machine or a laminator. And then there's the transfer gel, which is what we're using here, that dries clear, and you can run that through a laminator. And then there's also Blanco gel, which they recommend if you're going to use these enamels to use it on the dark cardstock. Now see, when I pulled this over, it's got like all these lines from where it wasn't nice and smooth, but it will work out for me. So we're still experimenting because I'm not sure what I can stamp this with, but I decided on this VersaFine Onyx Black, and it worked. So I guess you can use that. So I stamped him yet again, and now I'm going to heat emboss him because we are still experimenting. We're making all the things happen because, you know, you don't get new techniques unless you try something new. So I was very careful because, like I said, this was not heat resistant acetate, and I was very nervous that I was going to melt the whole mess. So now I need to put all my parts and pieces together. So I have his belly and his chest, like the underbelly of the bug. I have that colored and fussy cut out. I have his eyeballs and his slippers and all these things all taken care of. So now I'm going to piece in all of these bits and pieces of Mr. Bug, who needs a name. Remember, leave me a name below. So I just glued them to this piece that I had put the transfer gel on and put the enamels on and stamped and embossed. And I am now adhering pieces of paper. Because, you know, this is what we do on a day when we are trying to avoid things like the dishes. So after I pieced on all of his little body parts here, I'm going to put this sheet that we ink blended and stenciled and stuff over top. And you'll see here I cut his legs out because his legs are green and they're in the background there. So here, now I got him dressed. Normally not how I get him dressed. Usually it's just like what I did with the robe and the paper piecing and all that. So, but I had to put, you know, all of his parts and pieces on. So now I'm going to actually paper piece him. This was nice because I could just stencil over the entire thing, and I didn't have to worry about what was going to glow and what wasn't. And then I started piecing on his little hands, which I did take the time to cut those little tiny hands out. And I realized I needed to put the mug down first. Just like if I was masking it, you know, you have to put the thing that's in the background down second. You know, you have to, it's kind of backwards. So the hands are in the front, so the cup had to go down first. And then I started just placing everything on. I do use my tweezers a lot when something is tiny like this, but I put his little slippers on. I had to get his little feet dressed, and now I'm going to put his robe on. And I did piece the cup and the hands right to the robe. It just makes things way easier. And then I'm going to add his little tuft of hair because I did color that separately. I did just flip it over on my piece of tape and color the edges instead of having to hold it or anything. The tape is kind of not sticky, but it's sticky, so it works for stuff like that. So I added his little hair. He's so fun. So now I am going to start to build the part that's going to light up. And I knew I needed foam tape. Now I have never used these Easy Lights before. I will say that they're pretty neat. There was no copper wires or copper tape or whatever that stuff is. It went together pretty quick. I guess I was under the impression that they were thinner than they are. Like I could have gotten away with one layer of foam tape, but I believe that they sell that double thick foam tape for these, which I don't own, and so I had to use my foam tape. So I was reading the directions because, you know, this is the first time. Put the battery in, push the purple button, things light up. It's just kind of fantastic. And then I had to decide where I was going to put this. So I was going to put it at the bottom or the top, or how is this going to work? And look at, he lights up. I was like, oh yes, this is going to work. So I decided I'm going to put this button up in the top because I don't know. I just decided I wanted it up in the top. Wanted it one piece of foam tape from the edge. I'm going to kind of box it in here so that it doesn't move and my card is stabilized. When I was doing this, I had to be careful because he is see-through in a lot of places. So I had to make sure I didn't put any foam tape over those see-through places because you wouldn't be able to see the lights. You'd be able to see the foam tape. Just had to be careful. So here I am just piecing in all foam tape. And I know I could have cut all this out, but if you have never built a light up card or a shaker card or any of that before, you might not have seen this, where the underside looks terrible, but what you're really doing is just supporting the structure of the card. So now I'm like, well, how am I gonna do this? So I just peeled the removable tape off, and then you have to be careful with these wires. You curl them, you don't crease them, or they won't work. If you only need, one light, you can cut one light off, but I mean, you might as well just string them together and make things light up super bright. But they're kind of cool. I thought they were neat. I have a few more to play with, so I'm going to have to do that. So I just kind of curled everything up on top of that one layer of foam tape, and I'm going to sandwich it between. So I guess it was a good thing that I had to use 2 layers of foam tape, because, well, now the wires are all very, contained. So here I'm deciding where I want the lights to be. I think I just can't get over how funny he is, that he lights up like this, and he's like, you light me up. I can just see him saying it in like the grumpiest sound, like he stumbles out in the morning, he's got his cup of coffee, he's probably watching the dog go out in the yard, waving at the neighbor as they drive by, and he's probably like, yeah, Joe, you light me up, like, it's another Monday. I could just hear it. It's awesome. So here I'm putting on the second layer of foam tape on all of those 1 layer pieces, and I'm going to sandwich all of this wiring inside. I had checked and made sure that my lights were all where I really wanted them to be before I, went any further, and just definitely sealed in that Easy Light from Pear Blossom Press. This card didn't take all that long, honestly. To put this part in was probably the fastest part. All them other steps and the things that I did, they really didn't take all that long. I think I probably had an hour and 25 minutes of footage, and that stuff had to dry for me to use it. So now I'm like, well, I need a stamp on here or something, because how is anybody gonna know what they're supposed to do? Like, it doesn't say push me or anything. So I decided I'm going to stick this down to a piece of black cardstock first. And I did black because that green that's on the bug really looks super opaque then. I felt like if I would have put something else down, it might be a little different. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll do a banner or something with the light, the press here thing. But it fit in my Misty just fine. And I knew it worked because when I stamped it down, it lighted up every single time. So it did work. I am sorry my head is in the way. I was really trying to make sure that this was lined up nice and straight. I thought that this stamp set from Heavy Doodle was perfect for this. I have used it a few more times since this video. And I've used the bug one more time since I made this video too. Well, not this bug, one of the other bugs. I will link that below too. So here I was showing you that I rarely clean my stamps well, and I just stamped it on the card base in the wrong spot first to make sure that my ink was all the right color, and then I adhered this down. I did put quite a bit of adhesive on it because I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to go anywhere. This is going to be handled and passed around at parties, and whoever gets it is just, I'm sorry, but I think it's like one of the funniest things on the planet here to have this light up bug that says, Buggy for caffeine, and you light me up. I just can't even. He's too funny. So you have to let me know, did anything surprise you with how I put this together? Are you willing to try any of those techniques that I showed? And remember, if you go to Jamie's shop, you can use that N2S10 code and get 10% off. There he is all lit up. 10% off your order. She has a rewards program too where you can earn points and then earn free things. So everybody likes free stuff, right? So there'll be a link below to all that. And I really appreciate you stopping by. I'd love it if you would ring the bell and subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And as I always say, give cards generously. Bye.